Hey everybody, this lesson is going to be a short one. We're just going to cover just kind of the basics about negative fractions. What makes a negative fraction, where the negative should go, also where it shouldn't go. That's important. And just kind of how to deal with negatives when you have a mixed number and all that. So it's pretty simple because this is stuff that I want to cover before we get too involved with the adding and subtracting part of adding rational numbers. Now, remember, a rational number is just a fancy way of saying it's a fraction. You know, rational has the word ratio in it, and ratio just means a fraction. And so let's go ahead and get into the first part here, which is, you know, where does a negative go? And so most people have decided that a negative can go in, you know, when we're talking about a fraction, it can go in either one of three locations, okay? One of the locations is the numerator. So put numerator here in your notes. So it can go in the top. It can go in the denominator on the bottom. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Or it can go right in the middle, you know, right in line with that fraction bar. So, you know, if it's in the middle, it doesn't appear to be in the top or the bottom. It's right in line with the fraction. All right. And so what I mean by that is that if you have a negative in the numerator, it might look like this, like -4/5 right there. That's a negative fraction right there. If I write -4/5 where the negative's in the denominator, it's gonna look like this. I'll tell you what, that is not the best way to write a negative fraction, although it's not wrong. I would say putting the negative in the denominator is probably the most confusing spot to put it. The last spot, like I was saying, is to put it right in line with that fraction line, which is called vinculum or vinculum, and that comes out to -4/5. And so when it's like that, that can be sometimes confusing to people. But I would say, for the most part, you know, if we're to have a contest here, and I'm a math teacher, so I have kind of an opinion about this, but what I would suggest doing is putting that, you know, putting the negative, especially when it comes to adding and subtracting, I would say the best location is in the numerator. So, you know, having it like this, I would say that is the best way to express a negative fraction, okay? So putting it there in the top, I would say is gonna save you a lot of confusion. On the next page here, we have the question, what about mixed numbers? How do you deal with mixed numbers? Now you might notice I have two mixed numbers, okay? Well, let me just go ahead and say this. You're gonna want to put the negative in one of those places. The other place, not so much, all right? So what I would suggest is in the first one where we have the negative right there in front of the 4, I would say that is the best place. All right, so it goes here. I would say not there, definitely not there. I'm not saying like sometimes. I would say never ever put the negative in that location if it's a mixed number. If it's a mixed number, it must go in front of the whole number. That's it. You can't just like, it's not like a regular fraction or a proper fraction where you can kind of put it in one of three places. When it's a mixed number, we can only write it this way, and that's it. Now going from there, you guys are going to want to be able to convert a negative number or a negative mixed number into an improper fraction, and that sometimes confuses people. But what I would suggest doing here is when you guys have to convert a negative mixed number into an improper fraction is to almost, not completely, but ignore the negative sign. Not forever, but just temporarily, just for the time being. And when you're finished changing it into an improper, put it back. And like I said before, I would say putting it in the numerator is going to be the best place to put it. So for -6 2/5, we're going to go ahead and do this. So 5 times 6, and I'm ignoring the negative. don't even look at the negative for right now. But 5 times 6 is 30. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to multiply. And then you're going to add the numerator, right? You're going to add 2. So 30 plus 2 is 32. And then we're going to put the negative in front of it. So negative 32, this. Okay, so that's all there is to it when it comes to changing a negative mixed number into a fraction. It's very important that you kind of ignore that negative. If I didn't ignore that negative, and I did it like, where I use like multiplication rules for negative numbers, then I would get 5 times negative 6 is negative 30, and negative 30 plus 2 makes negative 28, which would be wrong. You wouldn't want to do that. So like I said, you want to kind of ignore that negative. Sometimes teachers might put parentheses around it, and then you just kind of put the negative on the outside, and then, like I said, don't forget about it, but apply that negative back onto the improper fraction when you're through converting it. Okay, so that does it for your lesson. This was a really short lesson, pretty easy lesson, but these are essential things that you need to know and understand before we get into anything with adding or subtracting fractions. Okay, everyone have a great day. See you later.